Introducing your host with the most, Mr. Greg. Along with Rick Brusuelas and Dennis Michelson. Now, let's get to the show.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Stop, Crackle, Pop. We've got a jam-packed show, a lot of injuries, and also, as you probably saw or heard, lots of trades. But you probably also noticed that we're -1 Greg Caldwell. He's still in Japan. And this week, we're happy to have Joe Carlton coming in and filling in for Greg at Crackle. But before we get to that, why don't we go ahead and go through just as many of the injuries as possible, and then we'll talk about a few of the trades before handing over to Joe. And by the way, this week 10 is 4 teams on bye. That's Cincinnati Bengals, Dallas Cowboys, Tennessee Titans, and the Kansas City Chiefs. So, players on bye will be people like Patrick Mahomes, Dak Preston, Joe Flacco, Chase Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Rashee Rice, George Pickens, Jake Ferguson, Travis Kelce. So hopefully get those players out of your lineups this week, and hopefully you have replacements. But let's go through the injuries real quick. First of all, Jaden Daniels, Washington Commander quarterback, dislocated his elbow on his non-throwing arm. Good news, no fracture, but likely he is going to be out. There's a chance he's going to be back towards the end of the season. His replacement, Marcus Mariota, who started 3 games and had 3 other games above 50% of the snaps with the Falcons. And he's averaging 17 fantasy points in those 6 games. So it's a player you may end up wanting to check to see if you need a replacement. He'd be a good add. C.J. Stroud, Houston Texans quarterback, had a concussion. We don't know for a fact that he is out for the next game. Davis Mills came in, was 17 for 30 and 137 yards, replacing Stroud. Kyler Murray has an injured foot, and now he's expected to be out for another 4 to 8 weeks. The impact, Jacoby Brissett came in and will continue to be the quarterback for the Cardinals. That gives both Trey McBride and MHJ a chance to get some more catches because they've looked better with him at quarterback. Switching to running back, we've got Marion Hampton, Los Angeles Charger running back. He suffered an ankle foot injury in week 5, and now we hear from Jim Harbaugh that he doesn't think the Chargers will open up the window for him to return until week 12, until after the week 12 bye. So that's not great news. Puka Nacua, the Los Angeles Rams wide receiver, suffered a rib injury. Coach McVay thought that Nacua could have played in the game if he was needed, but since I would still continue to monitor his status throughout the week. The Rams play at home against the Saints. and so they might just consider sitting him for that game. Two wide receivers from the Jacksonville Jaguars are out. Travis Hunter, he had a non-contact knee injury during practice during the week, so he's on IR. And also, Brian Thomas Jr. has a low-grade high ankle sprain. Has a chance to play, but the Jaguars also acquired wide receiver Jacoby Myers during the trade deadline flurry of activity. And so it's more than likely that Myers will be the wide receiver one for the team. They also have Parker Washington and Austin Trammell as other wide receivers. And Terry McLaurin, the Washington Commanders wide receiver, had a quad injury. He's unlikely to play in Week 10 versus the Lions and may not even play until after bye Week 12. So Debo Samuel, Zach Ertz, Jalen Lane, and Treylon Burks, who came out of nowhere to play last game, those would be your replacements. T. Higgins had a concussion, but he's already cleared protocol, so he should be able to play. Last major injury was Tucker Kraft, the Green Bay Packers tight end. He has a torn ACL, so he's out rest of the season. Luke Musgrave came in, was 3 for 34, replacing Kraft last game, and will likely be a primary waiver target for anyone looking for a tight end. Jordan loves to target his tight ends. In fact, I think it's around 25% of his attempts go to the tight end position. So look for Luke Musgrave if he's on your waivers. Joe Alt, the Los Angeles Charger offensive tackle, also was injured, has an MRI, and he's going to have season-ending surgery on his ankle. They also lost Rashawn Slater, so both of their starting tight ends are gone. Couple of players returning. Garrett Wilson with the New York Jets may be coming back. He should be practicing this week. And let's go through a couple of those trades real quick. I mentioned the Jacoby Myers. He was traded from Las Vegas to Jacksonville for a 4 and a 6 round draft pick. The New York Jets traded Sauce Gardner to the Indianapolis Colts for 2 first-round picks and wide receiver A.D. Mitchell. New Orleans Saints traded wide receiver Rashid Shaheed to the Seattle Seahawks for a 4th and a 5th. And the Dallas Cowboys acquired defensive tackle Quinnen Williams for a 26 second, a 27 first, and defensive tackle Massey Smith. And last, the Dallas Cowboys, trying to beef up their defense, acquired linebacker Logan Wilson from the Bengals for a 6th round pick. There's going to be more injury news, and I'll cover that on Thursday's check down. So with that said, why don't we go ahead and switch over and find out from Joe who are some players to perhaps fade.
Hi, this is the Crackle segment. Greg asked me to fill in because he wanted me to let you guys know he chose me because I'm a Tom Brady fan, and Tom Brady went to Michigan. So I had to throw that out there. So now let's get into who one player from each position who may underachieve this week, who are guys regularly that are regularly in your lineup. We'll start with quarterback. Jordan Love versus the Philadelphia Eagles. So Philadelphia Eagles have given up only 2 passing touchdowns the last 4 weeks. And we know that they just added some reinforcements on defense at the this past week in the during the trade deadline week. They added edge rusher Jalen Phillips, cornerback Jair Alexander, and cornerback Michael Carter. 3 of the last 4 weeks, Jordan Love has finished outside of the top 10 at the position. And we know that he just lost his favorite weapon, Tucker Kraft. So I'm tempering my expectations for Jordan Love this week. Moving on to running back. It's a little bit of a bold choice here, but I'm going with Derrick Henry at Minnesota. Minnesota defense has looked real good the last couple of weeks. Over the last 4 weeks, They have given up the 7th fewest fantasy points to running backs, 265 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns in that span, while shutting down the Detroit run game last week. They held Gibbs to 25 yards and David Montgomery to 40 rushing yards. And they also shut down Saquon Barkley in that 4-week span, holding him to only 44 yards rushing. So if Derrick Henry doesn't get, he's going to have to get into the end zone in order to, pay off at starting. So if I'm tempering my expectations on Derrick Henry this week. Jump into wide receiver. This one seems like low-hanging fruit. I'm going to go with Deebo Samuel versus Detroit. He's given us under 10 PPR points the last 3 games, despite getting six or more targets in each game. He just lost his quarterback, Jaden Daniels, to an injury. Terry McLaurin is out. Luke McCaffrey is out. It's going to allow the Detroit defense to really key in on him and shut him down, since he is basically the top pass catching weapon for them now. And, their running game hasn't been that effective. So, this is a great bounce back week for the Detroit defense. So I'm fading Deebo Samuel this week. Jumping over to tight end, I got rookie Ty Warren versus the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta continues to dominate against the tight end this year. They're number 1 in the league against the tight end. They have allowed only 17 receptions for 176 yards and 1 touchdown all year. We just saw Tyler Warren get contained by the Pittsburgh defense, only going 5 receptions for 26 yards, 7.6 PPR points. I feel like the NFL is a copycat league, and Pittsburgh just gave us a blueprint how to eliminate Warren as a weapon for Danny Dimes. So I could see it happen again for a second week in a row. So I'm fading Ty Warren this week. And then my bonus pick, I'm going with J.K. Dobbins, who has given us no touchdowns in the last 4 weeks. We continue to see R.J. Harvey getting used, especially in the red zone area. His usage is being increased each week. And Bo Nix in the passing offense has been stepping up the last three out of the last 4 weeks. And I just think that they're looking to pass more. They're more than they run. So tempering my expectations on J.K. Dobbins. I will now hand it over to Dennis, and he will talk about some players who may pop.
Hey, thanks, Joe. And those were some bold picks by Mr. Joe Carlton, but I am on board with each and every one of them. I think he's given you some great advice as always. Well, I went 4-1 last week, and the only one that I missed on was the easiest of the defensive matchups. So that one still has me scratching my head. But the fact that the Chargers are down 5 offensive linemen from what they started, maybe I shouldn't have been so bold on Kamani Vidal. But this week, we will go 5 for 5. Guaranteed. Or your money back. And I didn't charge you for this. All right. At quarterback, I'm taking Jackson Dart. This kid is so exciting. Yes, he's on the road. I don't like guys on the road for my pop picks if I can avoid it. But he's going up against the Chicago Bears defense that last week gave up 470 yards to AARP quarterback of the year, Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco, is not as good of a mobile quarterback as Jackson Dart. And Jackson Dart's been impressing me with his arm as well. The Bears yielding 19.7 points per game to opposing quarterbacks. That should be good enough to get him in the top 12 again this week. And he has 3 top 7 quarterback finishes in his last 4 games. Jackson Dart, really impressive indeed. At running back, well, I'm taking the low-hanging fruit. I'm going right back to the guy that ran, rumbled, stumbled, and bumbled his way to over 200 yards, but didn't find the end zone this week. I think he will find the end zone at least once. And that's why I'm going back with the Bears. Kyle Monanjay. The Giants' defense has not been good, and that's an understatement. 27.4 points per game to opposing running backs. Kyle Monanjay, the RB3 last week without getting in the end zone, he was RB12 in week 7 when Swift was active. So even if DeAndre Swift is back, I think they split the touches, and I think Kyle Monanjay is still a good pick this week. At wide receiver, I'm expecting him to be back and healthy after his bye week. Garrett Wilson is the low-hanging fruit. He has 4 top 12 WR starts in his 6 games played this week. That's a pretty good high percentage, and all of those came with Justin Fields, I'll add, and he is expected to be back as the starting quarterback. Cleveland's defense is tough against the run, but yielding over 32 points a game to opposing wide receivers. So I like Garrett Wilson's chances to score early and often for you this week. At tight end, I'm going for the low-hanging fruit. Brock Bowers was my pick last week, and Brock Bowers will be my pick until he's back in the top 12, folks. I'm taking advantage of the rules here, and I'm taking the low-hanging fruit. 43 points last week for Brock Bowers, and man, you got to get the abacus out to figure out how much it was if you have a tight end premium. Yes, he's got a tough defensive matchup, but who cares? It's Brock Bowers, for crying out loud. Don't expect 43 from him this week, but expect 15 plus, which will be good enough to score a win for me at tight end. My bonus pick, I'm taking the low-hanging fruit again, folks. Hey, Lamar Jackson's not in the top 12. I'm taking Lamar Jackson every week until he's in the top 12 because he does get a tough matchup on the road, but it's Lamar Jackson. Come on already. He's 4 for 4 with top 10 quarterback starts this week, or this year, I should say. And he has 2 of those against tough defenses. So I think his rushing ability gives you a little bit of a good solid floor. And that solid floor should be good enough for the top 12 this week. So that's who I'm popping on. Back to you, Rick.
Hey, that was great. And both great stuff from Joe and from Dennis. And hopefully they help you win your games this week. And we really appreciate you watching. So please hit the like and subscribe button if you're not already subscribing. Also, keep an eye out for other sports affiliation shows on throughout the week, all with the hope of being able to help you be better at fantasy football and win your games. So with that said, good night. Hopefully you all have a great week and keep watching.